Some people go through life like nothing can touch them. A bad day at work, a rude comment, a curveball from life, they stay calm, grounded, untouched. But how? While most of us spiral from a single text or traffic cutoff, they've learned something powerful. This video reveals the Stoic mindset that turns emotional chaos into peace and how you can master it too. They don't even blink. Life throws them curveballs and they just keep walking like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, most of us get thrown off by the smallest things. A weird text, someone cutting us off in traffic, or a random comment online, and suddenly we're in a bad mood, overthinking everything. It feels like we have no control over how we feel. But here's the truth. You do have control. You just haven't been taught how to use it. The people who stay calm and unbothered, they've learned something powerful. Something the ancient Stoics understood a long time ago: when you stop letting the outside world decide how you feel inside, you become free, you become strong, you become untouchable. And that's what this video is about. How to stop caring about things that don't deserve your energy. How to stop reacting and start living with real peace. If that sounds like something you need, there's one small thing you can do that really helps us keep this going. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free and it means a lot. Now let's get into it. You ever stop and think how much of what bothers you isn't even real? Not in the way you think, at least. You're not reacting to the world, you're reacting to what you think the world means. A look, a tone, a delay in someone's response. It's not the event itself that hurts, it's the story you attach to it, and that's the part no one teaches us. Growing up, we're taught to respond to what we see, but never told to question how we're seeing it. Here's where people get stuck. We walk around saying things like, "He made me feel stupid," or "that ruined my day." But pause for a second. Did the person make you feel that way? Or did you assign meaning to their words and let that meaning run wild inside your head? The ancient Stoics said it plainly: it's not things that upset us, but our judgments about those things. That wasn't just philosophy. It was psychology. Centuries before psychology had a name. Let's say you're at the gym, someone glances at you and frowns. Instantly, your brain kicks in. Are they judging me? Is it how I look? Am I doing something wrong? But maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they weren't even looking at you, and yet within seconds you've launched into a full mental spiral over a guess, a story, a narrative you built out of thin air. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what's happening here. You're not responding to truth, you're responding to projection. Most of us don't see the world clearly. We see it through a fog made of past hurts, past rejections, fears we never dealt with. If your heart's been broken, you see love through suspicion. If you've been criticized, you hear judgment in every neutral comment. It's like trying to navigate with a cracked lens. Everything feels personal, even when it isn't. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." That wasn't about philosophy class. It was about taking responsibility for your lens, because until you do, you'll stay trapped in a cycle of reaction where every little thing feels like a threat. And every time you react without pausing, you reinforce the idea that you're powerless, that you're at the mercy of the world, but you're not. That's the illusion the world can poke. But only you decide if it hurts. What's actually happening? Is this your brain is running an old program? It sees something, it labels it, it reacts automatically. But what if you could rewrite the code? What if instead of reacting, you paused? That tiny space between stimulus and response, that's where your power lives. Aristotle once said, "Anyone can become angry, that is easy. But to be angry with the right person to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. That quote holds the key to emotional intelligence. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about choosing how and when to let it move through you consciously, not compulsively. Here's the move that will change your life. Start questioning everything you feel, not in a cynical way, but with curiosity. When something upsets, you pause and ask, is this really about them, or is this touching something inside me? That question alone can break the spell. It stops the old pattern and invites a new way of seeing. Instead of living like a puppet pulled by every trigger, you start living like a person, clear, grounded, centered. Plato believed that reality is but a shadow of the truth. In other words, most of what you think is real is just a version of it shaped by your mind. So ask yourself, is this moment truth or just my interpretation of it? And if it's just a story, do I still want to keep telling it? The people who stay calm under pressure, the ones who don't get rattled by petty stuff, they're not cold, they're clear. They've trained themselves to stop giving automatic reactions. And the more they practice that pause, the more space they create inside themselves. That space becomes peace. That peace becomes strength. That strength becomes a quiet kind of power that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And here's the beauty of it all: this isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware every time you catch yourself spiraling and choose not to follow the thought. You win. Every time you pause instead of explode, you grow. Every time you challenge the story instead of swallowing it whole, you reclaim your mind. So next time something pushes your buttons, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what inside me is letting this affect me? That's where the real work begins. That's how you go from being a puppet of your emotions to being the quiet master of your mind. Stoicism wasn't about being emotionless. It was about mastering emotion so that nothing and no town one controls your peace again, and that is real freedom from the moment you were old enough to understand words. You were being trained, and not in a good way. You were taught that your value depends on what others think of you, that fitting in matters more than being at peace, that your worth is measured in likes, approval, and applause. And the wild part? You didn't even notice it happening. None of us did. It was the water we were swimming in: school, parents, media, culture, all pointing you in one direction. Care what people think and care a lot. It's no accident. This wasn't just personal conditioning, it's systemic. The world around you is built to keep you reactive. Think about it. Social media algorithms don't reward clarity or calm. They reward outrage, conflict, comparison. You scroll, and suddenly, you feel like your life isn't enough, like you're behind, like you're missing out. Why? Because that emotion keeps you hooked. Every like, every comment, every post. It's designed to keep your attention tied to external validation. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "The opinion of 10, 0 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject, but we chase those opinions anyway as if they define us." And it doesn't stop there. Marketing is another psychological game. Entire industries exist to sell you a problem first, then offer you the solution. You're too old, too young, too quiet, too loud, too broke, too behind. The message is always the same. You're not enough unless you buy this, and the more insecure you are, the more likely you'll buy. That's why your emotional reactivity isn't just a flaw, it's a profit model. The more easily you're triggered, the more predictable and profitable you become. Carl Jung nailed it when he said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And what better distraction from your soul than being constantly pulled by other people's drama, opinions, or expectations? If you're always reacting, you never get still enough to hear your own thoughts. You never ask yourself, what do I actually want? what actually matters to me. Now let's talk about relationships because some of the people closest to you maybe even unknowingly feed off your emotional reactions. Toxic dynamics thrive when you explode, panic, or doubt yourself. They depend on it if they know how. To push your buttons, they know how to control you. And that's the uncomfortable truth. The more emotionally reactive you are, the easier you are to manipulate the moment someone learns what sets you off. They've got you on a leash. Plato once warned us, the measure of a man is what he does with power. But the question you need to ask is who actually has power over you? Now, picture this picture. A giant control panel strapped to your chest. Every button is labeled insecurity, anger, fear, jealousy, guilt, and everyone around you knows exactly which one to press someone. Hits the insecurity button and boom, you're spiraling, someone taps anger, and suddenly you're shouting. That's how most people live. Exposed, vulnerable, easy to provoke, but here's the shift. Imagine unplugging that control panel completely. Imagine someone says something nasty and you just don't react. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fire back. You don't even feel it in the same way. That's not indifference, that's power. Socrates said, "He who is not a good servant will not be a good master." If you can't manage your own emotions, how can you ever hope to lead your life with clarity? When you unplug from the need to react, you gain a kind of freedom most people never taste. You're not rushing to explain yourself. You're not overthinking texts. You're not taking things personally that were never about you. To begin with, you become steady like a rock in a storm. People start to notice, not because you're loud, but because your peace is unshakable. And yeah, some people might call you cold, let them. What they don't understand is that what looks like detachment is actually discipline. It's you choosing not to hand out your peace of mind like it's free candy, Aristotle said. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And when you know who you are, when you're anchored in that nobody else's noise can move you. So no, you're not heartless for not reacting. You're not rude for protecting your energy. You're just done letting people play with your inner world. Like it's theirs to mess with. You've unplugged the panel. You've taken back the controls. And in a world addicted to chaos, that kind of calm is a superpower. And here's the secret, the world doesn't actually want you to be calm. It wants you reactive, impulsive, and easily offended because that's what keeps the wheel spinning. But when you stop giving them that reaction, you break the cycle, you stop being a puppet and start becoming the master of your own reality. That's stoicism in action, not just theory, but daily practice. Every time you choose not to react, you train your mind. Every time you protect your energy, you reinforce your freedom. And in that quiet space between what happens and how you respond, you start to realize nothing out there can truly control you unless you let it. Some people think staying calm means you've stopped caring, that you're passive, weak, detached in the worst way, cold, distant, emotionally shut off. But let's clear that up right now. Real detachment isn't about caring less, it's about caring right. It's about refusing to let every little thing hijack your peace. Because the truth is, the more reactive you are, the more control the world has over you. And if everything gets to you, you'll never have the energy to focus on what actually matters. The Stoics had a word for this: apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense of not caring, but a state of inner calm where your soul stays untouched by chaos. It's the ability to let the world move around you, not through you. Picture yourself like a strong tree in the wind. The wind is there, the noise is real, but you don't bend to it. You stand rooted, present, powerful. That's what real detachment feels like. Step one in building that kind of strength: observe, don't absorb. Let's say you walk into a room and it's tense. People are snapping at each other. You feel that heaviness in the air. You might have immediately soaked it up. gotten irritated, defensive, stressed out, without even knowing why. But the wiser version of you notice the tension without letting it enter you. You say, okay, they're going through something, but you don't make it yours. Carl Jung once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an irritates understanding of ourselves. That quote hits hard. When you realize most of what bothers you isn't personal, it's projection. Now let's talk about the power of silence, master. The pause. This might be the most underrated skill in the modern world, because the moment someone throws shade, we're conditioned to clap back, defend ourselves, prove our worth. But what if instead of reacting, you paused? Just a breath, a beat. You hold the silence, not because you're afraid, but because you're in control. That space between what they say and what you do next. That's where all your power lives. Marcus Aurelius said it best. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That pause is your power to revoke. And here's where things really shift. Starve the drama, because drama feeds on your attention. Gossip. It only spreads when people bite the bait. Arguments. They only explode when both sides keep lighting the fuse. Toxic people. They thrive off your reaction. But when you stop giving them that energy, when you stop feeding the beast, it starves. And eventually it dies. Aristotle once said, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. But here's the twist. It's not about silence for approval. It's about silence for strength. You're not avoiding conflict. You're refusing to participate in nonsense. Now, let's be honest, this isn't easy, especially in a world that rewards emotional reactions. The conflict of reactions, louder the angrier, the more dramatic you are, the more attention you get. But that kind of attention, it's empty. It's a sugar rush. Fleeting. The people who are actually strong, they're the quiet ones. The ones who aren't ruled by every opinion, insult, or minor setback. Socrates taught that self-control is the foundation of wisdom. He wasn't wrong. When you control your reactions, you're not just avoiding problems. You're building depth, character, substance. So no, being unbothered doesn't mean you're cold or distant. It means you've grown. It means you've reached a place where you know your piece is too expensive to give away. You've realized not every situation deserves your energy. Not every argument needs your voice. Not every insult deserves a response. Some things are just noise. And when you stop dancing to the chaos starts fading. Here's the mindset shift. Not everything is about you. Not every tone, look, or delay is a personal attack. And even if it is, that doesn't mean it needs a reaction. You get to choose what enters your mind, what deserves space in your day. And the more you practice this, the lighter you become, the stronger, the more grounded you begin to feel. Like the world can spin all at once, but you're still, you're clear, you're solid. So when someone tells you you've changed, just smile, because yes, you have. You're not here to be pulled into every fire. You're here to walk through flames without getting burned. And that, my friend, is what it means to be untouchable. Stoicism doesn't ask you to ignore life. It asks you to master your response to it. And once you do that, once you stop letting everything get to you, that's when you finally start living on your own terms. There comes a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when something inside you clicks. It's not dramatic, no fireworks, no deep chant playing in the background, just a simple shift, the kind that feels like breathing clean air for the first time in years. It's the moment you stop caring, not in a careless or cold-hearted way, but in a wise, measured, deeply freeing way. You stop handing out pieces of yourself to things that don't deserve them in the world. It starts to change around you. At first, it's subtle people who used to poke at your insecurities, back off that comment that once would have haunted you for hours. It rolls off the mental tug of war. You've been playing with people problems, past regrets. It loosens. You start noticing how much of your stress was self-made, how many of your battles were with shadows. Most of the stuff that once consumed your energy, it wasn't real in the way you thought it was. Your reaction, your attachment, your story. And now without that reaction, life feels lighter. That's the power of emotional stillness. The Stoics believed that tranquility is the ultimate good. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The minute you stop reacting to everything, the outside world starts losing its grip on your emotions. That's when real strength kicks in, not loud or aggressive, but quiet, calm, immovable. But here's the thing, most of us have been programmed to react from childhood. You get stressed, you panic, someone criticizes you, you defend, you fail, you spiral. It's like your brain has pre-installed scripts. And the moment life presses a certain button, boom, you're playing the same scene again. But what if you rewrote the code? What if stress hit and you just breathed? No frantic scramble, just a breath. What if criticism landed and instead of rushing to justify yourself, you smiled? Not because you're passive, but because you're not owned by it. Carl Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and once you do, criticism can't wound you because you're no longer trying to be someone. You're not reprogramming your emotional responses. Doesn't mean becoming numb. It means becoming free each time you interrupt your automatic response. And do the opposite each time you choose calm over chaos, grace over defensiveness. You're building a new mental pathway slowly. Your brain learns we don't do panic anymore. We don't do drama. We do presence, power, peace. But here's a question that can change everything. What story are you telling yourself right now? Every emotion is tied to a narrative. If you feel like a victim, you'll carry pain. If you see yourself as the villain, you'll carry shame. But if you decide you're the hero of your own story, then every setback becomes a plot twist, every insult becomes fuel, and every hard moment becomes part of your rise. Plato once said, the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. And conquering yourself starts with owning your story. When something triggers you, stop and ask, what frame am I using here? Because you can't always control the facts, but you can always choose the frame. That choice over time changes your entire emotional landscape. Now let's talk about one of the sharpest tools in your emotional arsenal, disarming people without lifting a finger. There's a kind of power that comes not from shouting back, but from smiling and staying still. When someone tries to insult you and you agree, but in your own calm way, it confuses them. It unplugs their power source. You're too quiet. Yeah, I like my peace. You don't care, do you? Not about things that don't matter. You think you're better than everyone? I think I'm better than who I was yesterday. You're not dodging the jab. You're catching it midair and turning it into nothing. That's what Socrates meant when he said, no man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. But the same applies to the mind. Why grow old without ever training your emotions? Why live your entire life ruled by reactions? When you stop caring about meaningless noise, you gain room to care deeply about what does matter. You stop wasting energy defending yourself, and you start investing that energy in building yourself. You protect your peace like it's sacred because it is. You stop fighting battles that aren't yours to fight. You stop proving things to people who already made up their minds. You stop entertaining drama that's designed to pull you down, and you start living differently. You walk into rooms with presence, not pressure. You show up to situations with clarity, not fear. You become the person who doesn't just weather the storm. You are the calm in it, not because you've stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about the right things. That shift is rare. Most people never get there. But if you keep practicing these small, subtle shifts, if you keep questioning your reactions, rewriting your mental scripts, choosing your peace over your pride, then one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive life. You mastered it when you stopped letting the world control your reactions. You don't become colder, you become clearer, calmer, stronger. That's the quiet kind of power no one can take from you. And once you taste it, there's no going back. If this message spoke to something in you, there's another video on the screen right now that'll take you even deeper. Trust me, you're going to want to see it. Thank you for being here, for thinking deeper, and for being a part of Stoic Journal. Until next time, stay grounded and keep walking the quiet path. 14. No one can trigger you once you understand this. Stoic philosophy, YouTube, https://www.youtube.com/watch, VLVCEE's 2QX98 transcript. Some people go through life like nothing can touch them. Bad day at work. They don't flinch. Someone disrespects them. They don't even blink. Life throws them curveballs, and they just keep walking like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, most of us get thrown off by the smallest things. A weird text, someone cutting us off in traffic, or a random comment online, and suddenly we're in a bad mood, overthinking everything. It feels like we have no control over how we feel. But here's the truth. You do have control. You just haven't been taught how to use it. The people who stay calm and unbothered, they've learned something powerful, something the ancient Stoics understood a long time ago. When you stop letting the outside world decide how you feel inside, you become free, you become strong, you become untouchable. And that's what this video is about. How to stop caring about things that don't deserve your energy. How to stop reacting and start living with real peace. If that sounds like something you need, there's one small thing you can do that really helps us keep this going. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free and it means a lot. Now let's get into it. You ever stop and think how much of what bothers you isn't even real? Not in the way you think. At least you're not reacting to the world. You're reacting to what you think the world means. A look, a tone, a delay in someone's response. It's not the event itself that hurts, it's the story. And you attach to it, and that's the part no one teaches us growing up. We're taught to respond to what we see, but never told to question how we're seeing it. Here's where people get stuck. We walk around saying things like, "He made me feel stupid," or "That ruined my day." But pause for a second. Did the person make you feel that way? Or did you assign meaning to their words and let that meaning run wild inside your head? The ancient Stoics said it plainly. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about those things. That wasn't just philosophy, it was psychology. Centuries before psychology had a name. Let's say you're at the gym, someone glances at you and frowns. Instantly your brain kicks in. Are they judging me? Is it how I look? Am I doing something wrong? You're building a new mental pathway. Slowly your brain learns we don't do panic anymore. We don't do drama, do presence, power, peace. So, here's a question that can change everything. What story are you telling yourself right now? Every emotion is tied to a narrative. If you feel like a victim, you'll carry pain. If you see yourself as the villain, you'll carry shame. But if you decide you're the hero of your own story, then every setback becomes a plot twist, every insult becomes fuel, and every hard moment becomes part of your rise. That's how you master your triggers, not by escaping the world, but by mastering your response to it. If this message spoke to you, hit like and subscribe, and keep walking the quiet path.